Hello, my name is Frances Fox, and I'm a trained remote viewer, also trained in interspecies communication, um, aligned with my mission in this incarnation, aligned with my prosperous mission in this incarnation. Why am I making emphasis on the prosperous? Because in previous times, such as when Jesus was alive, prosperity looked very different than what it looks like today. And I they say they accuse the Catholic Church of having done it, but people with gifts, which basically is develop psychic abilities, could not earn a living with those gifts because that was a gift from God. Therefore, you had to have a full time job, exhaust yourself, and then give away whatever it is that you achieved with these gifts, superpowers, for free. Another era. We're in an era now in which you can be and have to be totally aligned with your mission, and you can be extremely prosperous, and something has switched. If you're doing something you don't really love, if you have prosperity, you're not going to be able to keep it, or you're not going to be able to have what you could have had if you loved what you're doing. How you feel is infused into everything: your marriage, your kids, your products, your bank account. If you don't love what you're doing, you're not vitalizing your intention to be successful. So, anyway, enough on that subject. The mantra: please God help me with my intention to create a miraculously uh, to create my miraculously prosperous mission. That is the mantra that is soothes the quickest for everybody that's kind of like out of sorts and what's going on. That mantra seems to give people faith that it's going to be okay and that they're going to end up doing something in whatever arena that where they're going to feel good. So anyway, let's go ahead and start with the map. I'm changing the time for this chat to 6 o'clock. Too many times I sit around waiting for 7 o'clock to roll around, and we're also looking to have more people from across the planet. And in Europe, uh, they really my chats are like 2 o'clock in the morning, so we're moving to 6 instead of 7. So let's go ahead and go with the map. We're in very interesting times. I don't know how people that don't have techniques for managing stress, how they do. Well, a lot of addictions that helps to manage stress, but it's not really good for you. It creates another issue. But when I give you a mantra, you might want to jot it down someplace, because if it gets bad enough, you may want to go to the mantra and try it, because there is nothing as miraculous as a mantra for clearing things, including diseases. YouTube challenged me on two or three things, and I finally got back to them today. And I said, listen, I create my music, I have it composed by artists, I pay for it, I register it. And they, oh, you're right, you're right, you're right. They wouldn't even let me post. They said they were going to close down my YouTube English platform because I wasn't adhering to community guidelines. So anyway, I challenged them, and it was really a lot easier than I thought. Thank you, Trump and Elon Musk. So let's go ahead with the map. The map. The map. Okay, so I figured a couple of things out. Across the United States, unfortunately, I used a pen that was too dark, so then I went back with a lighter blue pen. The horizontal, which is a Schumann resonance plus several other things, is looking really good. It's not red. Okay? You notice it at the top above in Canada, the Schumann resonance is in red, and there's now a portal that was not there before. Now, I think I need to start making a map that includes Mexico and includes Canada to see where it is, to give us a little bit more information. What is a portal? In between dimensions, there are sheaths, veils, walls. Revelations is those, a lot of those veils coming down little by little, and there's a lot of them. But a portal is when there is an artificial opening because of some toxicity in the different veils, sheaths in between dimensions. And there's no restriction to what can flow through there. And as I remind everybody, the very nice spirit guides do not enter where they're not invited. And even if you invite them in to like your physical body, they will not enter because it's not ethical. They can take care of you from outside of you, but once you have that portal, too many beings not ethical, and they just boom, they can come through. Chicago has probably the biggest portal in the United States, and we see how many murders are committed there. So portals are a problem, and that's a pretty big portal in Canada. We have Mexico under alien attack, but Mexico is limping. And what I'm going to say, because I'm assuming that these people don't listen to me, because if not, I wouldn't be saying it. But the cartels in Mexico are really beating up on the president and the people that run that country. I mean, really beating up on them. And that's on the physical dimension. And then we have that creates a weakness, perhaps, and is the reason why the alien attack, which I'm not seeing any longer in the United States. Now, the vertical lines are stuff that comes from off planet. A week ago, it was red, and that was when the whole Epstein screaming match happened. Now it's not red, but it's black. So that's depression. That's not great, but the destructive force is the accumulation or the excess of the fire element. This would be more like depression, and that is not as destructive. Then we have a circle around Florida and a circle around Texas. Okay, well, what does that remind me of? The relationship between Elon and Trump. Green is the color of the heart chakra and it's the color of healing. Are we going to have a reconciliation that feels good for both of them? Because we'll be able to tell if it's artificial. Maybe, especially if enough of us vitalize our intention that that beautiful relationship that had the whole country feeling very up, unless these people were your enemies, at which time you wouldn't be listening to me anyway. It was like an up for all of us. Plus, Trump lives in Florida, and as I have told you, that part of the US map has to do with helpful friends. And Elon lives in Texas, and that has to do with prosperity. So, okay, what are all those triangles? Those triangles, obviously pyramids, they're Mayan pyramids, but they're coming up and now they're in the United States. What does that mean? I believe that there may be some very big planetary shakeups, as in physical, and those triangles create stability. And so I'm going to tell a little story. And the story is this: years ago, there was a hurricane that was directed towards like Florida. It was late, it was November. Those hurricanes, when they hit, are supposed to be really bad, but whatever. But we didn't know if it was going to turn or not here in Miami. And what my master said was pray that it did not hit because it will be very bad. And they instructed me to put a triangle with the apex pointed up in a particular wall that I had that included the electric box. It was an inside wall. I don't know why they would have but and what they explained was that that triangle would direct energy rather than hitting that wall full force. The triangle would be telling that energy where to go, which would control it. So anyway, I sketched it with a piece of chalk. The hurricane never came to Miami, and that was that. The other day, when I was doing a session with the Mantrista movement with people on Wednesday, the one where I answer questions, at the end, I always give them a healing, and I usually end up in their homes, and then I get information. The information I got was that they should put up with chalk, with paint, whatever, um, the wall, especially that has the electric box, if I'm remembering correctly, to stabilize the home. So that was last Wednesday, and then I draw this today. So I'm going to say that the future is elastic and plastic, but I'm going to say that for whatever reason, these pyramids are coming up and they stabilize. So I think that if there's something big that happens, which I'm sure would be god awful, I think that we will have had a lot of protection, which should make a very big difference in the aftermath of whatever happens with a natural disaster. So, the portal in Canada, I was interviewed yesterday on some YouTube very successful show, and they asked me about Antarctica, and I said I can't talk about that. I've never looked at Antarctica. I don't know what's going on there. But I suspect I shouldn't be looking there. And I suspect there's stuff there that when we talk about conspiracies, we're talking about maximum conspiracies. It's not my job. But why am I talking about that now? Because maybe that portal that we're seeing in Canada may have something to do with that. And maybe that's why Trump was beating so heavily on the Canadians a few months ago to see if maybe he could get them. I have a feeling that for them to self correct your emotional issues as a person and your emotional issues as a country, okay, need to be addressed, because if they accumulate and they're not addressed, they create a toxic congestion, which eventually, depending upon the volume, the quality, etc., breaks the Higgs field, which I now realize those two lines, vertical and horizontal, I believe I need to ask the dolphin, so let me not continue with that statement. But the earthquake that hit New York City 5 weeks after 9/11, causal was the repression of the rage of New Yorkers, not of the United States, but of New Yorkers. They went ahead and became very compassionate. They helped out. There was not enough yelling and screaming and rage at what was done. And Mother Earth took it on. And 5 or 6 weeks later, which I predicted in 9/20, there was an earthquake epicenter, New York City. Okay, so we cannot allow congestions because it will end up becoming a problem for us. We cannot make people that unhappy, or we cannot keep people that unhappy. It's not a right and wrong issue. It's a dynamics, it's a reality. Um, so we need to address, and I said it before we started with all this exporting of illegal immigrants. We cannot have that many people frightened. And everybody on the planet is frightened. There's too much going on. We're changing cycles. We're going into the golden age. So the old age collapses. There's too much going on. But we have to do our best to try to create as much, alleviate as much the level of fear that we're all living in. I'm putting that out there. What can I tell you? Um, again, that interview that I was on yesterday, the man that ran it, Diego Dominguez, very good, solid citizen, Spanish, but he lives in Panama. But before I was on, he had somebody on that was talking very clearly, very liberally about how how he's been possessed, and he walks in shopping centers and he sees people. And I was thinking he can say this on a reputable show without people saying that he's crazy, because enough of the people that are listening are aware of this. You cannot say this in English in the United States. You won't get put away because there's too many other people that do worse, but definitely you will be called irresponsible. So we're not allowed the opportunity to learn about spirits, even though that's the first thing Jesus Christ did. When he went to give a healing, he would remove spirits. We're not allowed. We don't have the opportunity to understand, so that we can understand there's good spirits, And then there's really bad spirits, and then there's spirits that just make you a little bit crazy, but there's other ones that invade you. There's spirits that are attached to the planetary system, which means at some point they had a physical body. They don't now, but they're still spirits. And then there's spirits from off planet that are aliens, but they're on the planet, not functioning on the physical dimension, but bothering. There's a lot, but we're not allowed to talk about that openly. And if we do, we have to say the Catholic Church has a listing of spirits. The worst are the incubus and succubus, and those are the ones that are, by the way, messing us all up sexually, because those spirits, incubus and succubus, are the ones that attach to the second chakra. So, Scientology, what did they do to be able to teach people about spirits? Everything's a secret, and you have to pay a ton of money. And I'm going to say the story again because a lot of people are new, because now we're up to like 12 followers. And we used to have 6. So there's new people. It's not really a joke. My first product from my office was in the 90s. I put out a 5-minute video. And the point of the video was that those voices in your head that you think are yours, they're not yours. They're spirits. Spirits talk in your head in your own voice. So the person that did the reproduction, because it was a tape, remember the VHS tape? That was what it was. The person that had the company that did the reproduction was actually somebody that I knew. So I get a call at home one night, and he says to me, I'm working on your tape and I'm laughing. And I went, why are you laughing? Because it's not funny. He said, because I was in Scientology. And this information you give for $17.99, that was the cost of the tape. Scientology charges tens of thousands of dollars for this exact information. And I went, okay. And I was upset because he said he laughed at it, and that wasn't my. But the point of the matter is that the bad guys won. I had to pull back that tape because something very weird happened with the end of it. That had nothing, that we didn't do. I'll get into that another point, or not at all. The point of the matter is that when I was interviewed yesterday, the people in Spanish have no issue about all this stuff with spirits, and the spirit world can be really crazy. But then they have the opportunity to recognize the symptoms of when you're invaded or when you're influenced, and we don't have that here. I'm trying to do as much as possible. The only reason that the mind control program and Elon, Adam Schiff, and my handler, and all that group of people that you guys are like, what? The only reason is because you don't know about the other dimensions. So they pulled the wool over your eyes. And you maybe are accusing people of things when they're basically puppets to people that do know about the multidimensionality of humans, which includes you. It doesn't matter. They go, no, I don't get into that stuff. You don't get into that stuff. You are into that stuff because you have energy bodies in several different dimensions. You don't have just one body. You have 6. And those are the ones associated with this planet. You don't want to know anything about that. And then you get this country that's totally trashed because of the lack of knowledge. So we need to review all of that and to make new choices. And the people that want to say, you're talking about spirits, you work with the devil. Oh, yeah, the devil is a spirit. Yeah. Jesus Christ first cast out spirits. So what's the problem? There's a group of people, perhaps the Christians years ago stopped me from having a radio show because I was working with the devil. Meanwhile, they did what you call liberations, which is removing spirits. I know, because I didn't have a Bible because I was doing what Christ does. So we have to go back and stop with this whole judgment thing. And we really need to address this because it is causal for what's happening politically. It's causal for what's going on with our children, that they are not as healthy, they're not as bright. First generation that's lower IQ. First, generation that has 15% less strength in the heart. We're talking about big things. And we end up accusing people of things and they don't even know why they did it. Do I say it? This whole thing with the Clintons, this whole thing with clones, I need to take a weekend off and just float in water at the beach and just say, God, dolphins, give me this information. I'm not sure that the clones that you're talking about are not a person whose spirit left their assemblage of bodies and another spirit came in. I don't know. And then all those masks that they put on. But that's why people need their instincts, which is a psychic ability. And going back to Plato and Aristotle, they said the intelligence of the heart, which is instinctive, is more important than the intelligence of the head. And it's true. So I continue in my social media the articles and the videos that are the most followed and liked have to do with um, wanting to die. So we're going to go ahead. I need to make these chats shorter um, for many different reasons. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do the mantra, even though I want to die. Look at the way my shoulder dropped. I love and accept myself. We're going to do that now. And wanting to die is due to an excess of the fire element. When you repress your excess fire enough, you can end up suicidal. So it's not what I thought would have been an excess of depression, which is the water element. It's repressed rage. Now, before you hit the suicide continuum of the symptoms of excess fire, right before that, you have murder, where you get that excess fire and you end up killing somebody. But if you keep repressing and don't kill those people you're so angry at, you could end up killing yourself. So it's important to understand, and the whole thing with the elements is the other dimensions. So let's go ahead and do the mantra. And I'm going to put on mantrista music, which are images plus frequencies and sounds that have to do with reducing the fire element, which is the big issue on the planet today. And by the way, I think I'm going to get back into my project of producing a crop of cannabis, marijuana, but producing it in a place, I'm not going to say which place, but it's in Central Florida, that has an incredible energy. And so the crop will pick up that energy. And the energy, by the way, is sexual. So let me tell a tiny story there. I went to visit a ranch with some friends of mine. I had never been there before. Um, Let me get this person. There you go. One second. Okay. Um, so I went with a couple, and they were in the front seat. The man was driving. My friend was sitting there, and I was laying in the back seat. And all of a sudden, I sat up and I went, sex. And my friend looked at me. She knows I'm weird, and she said, "What?" I said, "Why do I feel this energy?" But not like my body felt sexual, but the energy in the air. And I said, "Why? This place is incredible." That's where I think I'm going to try. And of course, I'm not going to sit there planting this. But I've been thinking about this for a long time, and it's something that would contribute to, if this country can stop being old fuddy duddy. Why are we letting fuddy duddies control us in end times? Why are we allowing people who are either too conservative or they're older, no older than me, they're older, who bought the disinformation about cannabis? Why are we allowing them to stop us from facilitating a sacred herb that reduces the fire element? That's the reason why it's important. It's not important because it makes people stop wanting to kill everybody. It's not important because it stops people's frustration. Those things are very important. It's important for all the rest of the stuff. It reduces fire. Diseases of fire, cancer, high blood pressure, stroke, heart conditions, all are excess fire. But we have a group of people who bought into the disinformation. And so we're doing the whole cannabis thing piecemeal across the country. Get the old people out of the way. Get the people that bought the disinformation out of the way. Get the people who think it's religious and goodness to stop this product, this herb. Get them out of the way. Kick them out of the way quick because this country needs it. And you know the story when I had my shaman friend that was visiting, and he's allowed to travel with coca leaves in his, he has a purse like the shamans do because it's part of his religion. And then I'm over here and he doesn't like the cannabis, um, but he's doing the coca, which is not the same thing as cocaine. Cocaine is in the lab and they put stuff in that, they create crazy people. So I asked the dolphins the difference between the two. And the dolphins said, coca is a male plant. It gives you vitality. And people who live in mountains, my shaman friend, people in Peru, but mountainous places, cold, they need more male energy to be able to trek up the mountains, to be able to work. They said, but in the United States, a sedentary country, what they need is a female cannabis plant because it reduces the fire. That is, the fire gives you vitality. So if you're sitting at a computer all day long, you're accumulating fire, but you are not vitalizing anything with that fire. Your personality gets vitalized, and that's why everybody's cranky and everybody is sarcastic, and they're angry and they're killing each other, suicide. So it has to do with what's appropriate for the context. So because I believe in cannabis, doesn't mean I think that you should distribute coca to the whole population. Which population is it? If they live on a mountain, then they should be allowed to have what they need to support their system because of their environment. We need cannabis. Okay, so I'm excited about the project. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the mantra, even though I want to die. Let me put it here. This is the mantra. Check yourself from 1 to 10. How do you feel? 1 is god awful, 10 is great. Let's do the mantra. And then afterwards, when we finish after 5 minutes, check yourself again. Okay? I don't know why. I'm going to do self esteem. This is also for the stomach, this particular video. So now, how much better do you feel? Or how do you feel from 1 to 10? How did you feel before? How do you feel now? How does the dress look? For me, it doesn't look so great today. I want to remind you, I'm Cancer, so I repeat myself a lot. You need to get used to that. Your second energy center, which is 2 inches below your belly button, the sacral chakra, is the part of you that's sacred, where there's a piece of God inside of you. That energy center channels your creativity. People that are in production, people that are real creative, they use up the energy from that center for creativity. But that energy center is also about sexuality. So a lot of people that are incredible creatives are near zero in sexuality, real sexuality. That doesn't have to be stimulated by pornography or other stuff, or a new female every other week. If you have either one of those two issues, it's because your natural sexuality is not flowing the way it should. But the other thing that is channeled in that energy center is the joy. The name of that energy center means sweet in Hinduism, the ones who have the most information about these energy centers. So if our sexual energy is down to nothing, our joy is also going to be down to nothing. So that center, it would be important to know a lot about it, to take care of it. And all the texting and all the holding of the cell phone near there is killing sexuality, fertility, creativity, and joy. There's a direct relationship between the joy in people's lives and how many hours a day they have something that radiates microwave next to that energy center. And that's not good news, but it's information that you need so that you can make your decisions as to how it is that you want to use your phone. The whole texting with a woman who's pregnant and that microwave hitting the unborn child. And I know people are going to argue with me, but that has a lot to do with the augmentation in autism. You can argue all you want. It's okay. Not an issue. We'll see you again. Okay? I'm Francis Fox with news from Other Dimensions.